can be turning to Ecclesiastes chapter 9. We're going to look at verses 14 and 15. I titled this lesson, The Parable of Ecclesiastes 9, 14, and 15. Those verses reading from the NASB version says, "There was a small city with few men in it, and a great king came to it, surrounded it, and constructed large siege works against it. But there was found in it a poor wise man, and he delivered the city by his wisdom. Yet no one remembered that poor man." So, two verses, kind of short and sweet. Some try to look and find a historical reference for this story, and so I was looking on the internet, and there's all kinds that people throw out there and say, well, it might have been this or it might have been that. But in verse 13, Solomon, the wise man, says, "Also, I came to see as wisdom under the sun, and it impressed me." So apparently, it sounds like he heard this story or he knew about the story. Whether it was real or not, no one really knows. Perhaps it's a parable or an allegory. So I am going to approach it as a parable this evening. Okay, so if it is a parable, what does the parable mean? And so that's what I want to talk to you about. The phrase a small city with few men, some say that it could represent the church, or it could represent individual Christians. And so I looked at both of those, and I kind of like the idea of it being an individual Christian better. The and of course, in Solomon's time, they didn't have Christians, but they certainly had people who followed God's word and who served Him. And so, in our day and age, people who serve God, of course, are Christians. And just like this city, we are few as Christians. We are few, and we do not have the strength or the wisdom of the world. And so there's an idea there that city being small and few, being that they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the strength to withstand an army coming against them. And so, as Christians, we are perceived that way by the world as being weak. We are perceived that way because we don't have worldly wisdom, and because we don't have the kind of strength that people in the world have. But our strength is different than what the world perceives. And then, of course, this great king could, of course, represent Satan. Satan and all his representatives. And if you think, not only is there Satan and his angels, but he has all the people in the world that he has convinced to do wrong. And most of them want Christians and people who are following God to not do the right thing. And so we have that against us all the time. And the large siege works, of course, siege works in this parable. A lot of times when an army would besiege a city like this, they would build up earth so that they could just basically walk up to the top of the wall and go over it. And so that's what a siege work is. But I think it represents the unrelenting attacks from Satan and his angels and his representatives on our faith, and how Satan uses his resources against us. You know, not only does he use people, but he uses opportunity. He uses things that happen to us against us. He uses things that happen to other people against us. And so Satan uses everything he can against us. Not only is he tempting us, but he is trying to make circumstances happen in a certain way, so that we fail, so that we will become discouraged. And so he is always after us. It's not just one little small attack, it's attack after attack after attack. And so as Christians, that's what we have to realize. If we were able to put on spiritual glasses, we would be able to see all of the evil in the world and how it's out there and against us. You know, we don't know how much God protects us from a lot of things. Just think if we didn't have that and Satan could just get to us. You know, he had to go to God to ask if he could do certain things to Job. God protects us in ways we don't even know or understand. Okay, what about this poor wise man? What does that represent? Well, I think that represents how Christians can use God's wisdom to defeat Satan. And how do we get God's wisdom? Well, first of all, we've got to read this and study it and know it. And then we have to pray for wisdom, and that the things that we study and learn, that we can apply them correctly, and that we can use them as ammunition to fight against Satan. So to us, we look like poor people, or to the world, we look like poor people, but we're not. We're rich with God. We're always rich with God. But to the world, we look like poor people. And just like this poor person was not remembered for what he did, you know, we will not be remembered for defeating Satan in this world. The world does not care about that. If we win against Satan, they don't care. They're not going to remember us for that. Not only that, but many times in this world, good deeds go unnoticed and they go unrewarded. And so, just like that poor man was not recognized or remembered or rewarded for what he did to save this city, it will appear that way for us as well. But only one counts. Only one. And that's God. God will remember us. He will not forget us. And though we die, and though it be hundreds or thousands or many more than that years after we're gone, God will still remember us. And he has a reward waiting for us. And so we will not be forgotten. We will get our reward. We will get what he has promised. Well, let's look at verses 17 and 18 and see how Solomon applied these things that he said about this city and the poor man. In let's go to 16, verse 16. So I said, wisdom is better than strength, but the wisdom of the poor man is despised, and his words are not heeded. So Solomon saw here that from this parable or this story, whatever it was, that wisdom was better than strength, because wisdom was able to get this city victory, and it was able to defeat this great king who had all of this strength. And so, as we make a spiritual application of that, we have to remember that wisdom is better than strength. And like I said, we get wisdom from studying the Word and applying it to our lives. Verse 17 says, "The words of the wise heard in quietness are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools." And so, think about this poor man that was wise in a quiet place, probably saying very quietly what the people needed to do. We don't know what his instruction was for them, but whatever it was, it saved the city. And then you have this king who is out shouting orders to everybody to build the siege works, attack the city, do all of these things, and he's a fool and he's defeated. And verse 18 says, "Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good." One sinner destroys much good. For us, we don't need to be that sinner. We don't want to destroy much good. So as we look at this parable, and we see here that Solomon makes some application here that wisdom is better than strength, and wisdom is better than the shouting of a ruler, and wisdom is better than weapons of war. And so all of those things are true. Wisdom is certainly something that we all need. We all need to pray for, and we all need to use in our Christian life. So, as I offer the invitation, I will ask if there's any who are subject to it, if we can do anything for you, pray for you. Just come while we stand and sing.